Getting started. This is like kind of interesting card for me. It's like I think like this is the hardest card so far for me to evaluate. Like I guess like when I see other cards, like there's like stuff that comes to my mind immediately, like first things. It's just like nothing really comes up. I feel like it's super situational. It's like it almost doesn't feel that useful to swap the attack and health of everything, if you know what I mean. Like if you just want to combo as a priest, things like light bomb, things like cabal shower priest, shadow madness, it's like it's hard to just want to swap everything. I suppose you can say like, wait, say 1-3 you attack in, or like 2-4 you attack into something and then you swap it. I'm honestly not sure. I don't feel like this is. I don't think this is very easy to use at all. I suppose like you could attack something first and like kind of heal your minion away, but it would shrink. It would shrink the attack of it. It could be like used as like a random, like in a flex deck. It could be used as like a random burst card. Like if you're using like 1/7s and 1/8s, you can like swap and then trade or swap and kill people. But I feel like this. I guess I'm just gonna rate it as like not too good. More of like a Johnny card, something that's something that I guess like someone like Noxious will like to use a lot. I feel like it's probably not too strong. So I guess just that's just gonna be my verdict on it. Grand Crusader. I've actually seen this. The more I think about it, I thought it was like stronger than it was. I don't think this is super. I don't think it's actually super strong. Like most of the time, other classes kind of benefit from having other effects, like things like like Windfury is only for Shaman. Like some effects are only for some classes, kind of. So I feel like it's better for other classes to get Paladin cards than Paladin. It's kind of weird in the sense that like maybe like Mustard, Core Master have synergy, but a lot of the other classes that I would think that would want to use this already have really good six drops, like Shield Maiden, things like that. Realistically, if you want to use this, a card that you're comparing to is like Pied Sky Golem and Karen. They're both similar bodies, 5/5 compared to 4/5 and 6/4. But this one gives you a random card. That one, I guess, like just Death Rattle's another minion. It's a Death Rattle instead of Battle Cry, which is worse. I guess I can't really compare like Grand Crusader to Ancient Allure. It seems like Ancient Allure is much more flexible. It makes some sense for deck uses where you'd want to go to fatigue. Things like some kind of control mage or priest goes to fatigue a lot because it draws from outside your deck. But it's pretty random. Yeah, and I guess I don't feel like this is super strong. A lot of classes have really good six drops as well. I'm actually gonna rate some of the next cards really strong. I like out of these 10 cards, a lot of them I felt are really strong. Fists of Draxus. I feel like this would be better if Hearthstone was more like controlled, right? Like all the discard effects in Hearthstone are actually like random, so effectively it's like really hard to actually use Fist of Draxus. So like the way that they have like balance this card to make it strong is to make it like hard castable from your hand and it's still decent, which I don't really think it is. I don't think you would ever want to just like hard cast Fist of Draxus, just play play it 4 mana for deal 4 damage to an enemy. I feel like that's a little bit too weak, and I feel like it's like not consistent enough to discard. I mean, you could just play everything else and like try to Doomguard people out. Maybe like for a super, I guess for like a super aggro zoo, it wouldn't be mid-range demon zoo anymore. It'd go back to like the leper gnome style of zoo, if anything. I guess that's the only deck I can see as being decent in. Otherwise, it's like too random. Like you have to be able to, I guess, like play Doomguard and just discard your whole hand. Whereas the modern zoos with Voidcaller actually like don't play Doomguard until like super late. So yeah, I mean maybe, but then again, like you're giving up a card in your hand for it too. So I feel like even that it might not be too strong. It's not that bad though in that deck. I just feel it's because you actually have like if you're running a whole deck of leopard gnomes and stuff, you run out of cards so easily even with life tap. And once Fist Drax is stuck in your hand, if you don't have Doomguard, it's like dead. And even then, like you could just have like another abuse or a leopard gnome or something kind of and play it like kind of for free anyways. Those cards are so cheap. I don't think it's that strong. Living Roots. This I feel is very good. As we start seeing more cards, I'm fairly excited about like the old token druid, like token beast druid kind of, like with Haunted Creeper, Violet Teacher, Power of the Wild. This is a very versatile card. It's like a strictly better version of Arcane Shot, Like you have one man deal 2 damage, and you can summon 2 saplings. For Druid, it makes a lot of sense. Like you can play the saplings and then Power the Wild them. You might even see decks running Soul Forest. It's actually like cheap enough to combo at Soul Forest. I can see like Emperor being really good in this Druid. Like Emperor, I don't know. Like I see some people think Malygos. I feel like it makes more sense in a like a token Druid. I don't know if like that goes well with Malygos, but you can use like Emperor and then like kind of like combo out like more Force Nature than Savage Roar based. You can even use like Soul Forest with these. I think this is strong. I wouldn't even be surprised if this has implications in mid-range Druid, where you might want to use some Jousters now. And since mid-range Druid doesn't have small minions, like you can kind of like change the Zombie Chow into it. It's more flexible, and then you get rid of like the potential Joust since you use like wall growth and things like that. Like your smallest minion would be like 3 or 4 at that point. It seems pretty good. I think this is definitely like a pretty good card. Flash Heal, I think this is really strong as well. It's going into Flash Heal. Alright, well Flash Heal is actually really strong. I feel like this is like, I guess like kind of what the Control Priest needs to make a comeback. Like this is like, it's so flexible. I don't know if it would really replace Light of the Naru. It's like it's a card that's very similar to Light of the Naru. I'm not sure if it's stronger or worse, but I could see it potentially being stronger than Light of the Naru. And I can see like Control Priest, like core being something like Alkanai Soul Priest, Circle, and Pyromancer, that kind of style. Like not really like Deathlord style anymore. Maybe like right now a lot of priests are running Deathlord and Velen's Chosen. I can see it going back into like the old kind of Control Priest. And then I feel like with Emperor being in the game now, and also all these like more options, you can combo, like you can potentially have a very flexible priest running Flash Heals and maybe even Mind Blast and Velen's Chosen. It's kind of hard to actually like Flash Heal someone for damage like a Mind Blast, just because I mean double it. Like you would have a hard time having Velen out and Alkanai out, but you can kind of like choose one. It's just really flexible. And then sometimes you have to think like how easy it is for a priest to have that many situational cards, just because it feels like you have too many cards that do nothing. But priest, you can just like, if you're taking damage, you can just Hero Power yourself. You have a lot of card draw. You can run like Thought Steal, and you can run especially Acolyte Pain right now. You can like think about like this with like Prophet Velen, just heal yourself for 10 or 20 instantly against aggro. And then you can just like say Mind Blast, some random Flash Heal damage. You can potentially burst people for like close to 20 to 30 as well. So, and it's definitely not strictly worse than Holy Light. I think this card's much better than Holy Light overall. I think that's a really good card. I like it. Alright, next card, Alexstrasza's Champion. So I guess the first thing I thought about when I saw this card was, I feel like this is going to like diverge Control Warrior and Dragon Warrior. Right now, like Dragon Warrior is very similar to Control Warrior in the sense that it's like 2 to 5 cards difference. I feel like with this card, Dragon Warrior has more incentive to be its own kind of deck, more tempo based, more mid-range based, and less control. Not that like mid-range and control, I guess in my opinion, doesn't really. It's not just like where's a better late game, where's a bigger mana curve, because mid-range decks can be better than control decks late game too. Like oftentimes mid-range Paladin beats Handlock late game, and Paladin and Control Warrior late game. It just means that I guess like mid-range decks are just more like minion focused in my opinion. Control decks are more like spell focused. So I can see like say like the shells varying, where like say you're using Alexstrasza's Champion, you're using Blackwing Technician at that point. I can see this deck dropping like Armorsmith and Acolyte, even running like Twilight Drake, Blackwing Corruptor, more of like a tempo minion based warrior. 2 mana for 3/3 Charger is actually insane. A 3/3 Charger is kind of worth 4 mana. Like a 3 mana 3/1 Charger is like Wolf Rider, for example, and people play Wolf Rider. Like it's hard for warrior, like this kind of like slow late game warrior, to use like a card like Wolf Rider, but it's not even close. It's pretty flexible. I'd say you almost always want to drop it as a 3/3 charge, not a 2/3, but you could drop it as a 2/3 like sometimes if you just playing against like a Divine Favor Paladin, for example. But I've seen a lot of people compare this to Fire War Axe. I don't like the comparison that much, just because like minions are inherently so much different than weapons in the sense that like they do repeatable damage every turn. You never have to have an answer for Fire War Axe. I guess like you could ooze it or whatever, but for the most part, like axe you just ignore, and minions you have to deal with, or else they just keep hitting you, and you're eventually gonna have to deal with it. So you have to spend resources against champion, whereas you don't have to spend resources against fire axe. Ironically enough, I think like Alexstrasza might be one of the worst champions in this deck, and the worst dragons, just because the more like the closer you are to like a tempo warrior or like a mid range warrior, kind of the weirder it is to use Alexstrasza because you're dropping minions early at that point. So you could realistically use things like I can say Deathwing being good and Onyxia being really good, and Nefarian, especially Nefarian. Korkorn Elite, I think, would be fairly reasonable in this type of deck, but I think at that point you have enough charters and weapon damage. Like, so I would just use like Alexstrasza Champion, and like for my 4 drops, probably still sticking with Deathbite. I could like, I kind of assume that this deck would either cut Shield Slam or Execute, and it seems like it, first glance it would cut like Brawl and Shield Slam, so it just used Executes, kind of like Patron Warrior. Alright, so I'm done with that card. That's a really strong card, though. Charge Hammer, 4 mana for 2/4 weapon, Death Rider Hero. I think this is actually like one of those like Johnny cards, like really fun cards. Like, it's kind of like Shadow Form since that it changes the way you play the game, but I just feel like this is too slow. Kind of like the Rogue Poison Dagger in a sense. It's different. I mean, that one is more like you build up. This one is like it's almost like a bad thing to have this weapon that you kind of, I don't know, like just want your hero power change, deal 2 damage. That's like, I guess, a really strong hero power. But when you're playing a 2/4 weapon on turn 4, you have nothing to kill, right? Like if you play a 2 attack weapon late game, it's too awkward. If you play like 2 attack weapon, you realistically need to play on turn 2. And then the death row is like nowhere near strong enough. 2/4 is not like low amount of damage, just like way too slow. I mean, it's not good. I mean, even if you just think at 8 damage, Charisma does 8 damage, and it's like way faster, and it heals you for 4. And I don't think the death row is even that relevant, so it's kind of like not that good. Warhorse Trainer, 3 mana for 2/4. I've actually kind of seen this. It's like kind of interesting in the sense that like they always like put kind of strong cards on the same mana cost. Like Paladins have a lot of good 3 drops already. Like 3 is kind of Paladin's thing where it's like you have the highest amount of, because you have like Muster for Battle and Elder Peacekeeper, both almost like mandatory cards at that point. Like it's like super strong. You can coin out Muster. Like usually right now you don't coin out Muster that much just because you don't have good follow up, but this actually gives you good follow up. I could see this being like a 1 of in a mid-range Paladin. I feel like you can fit 1 in, and it, like a 3 mana for 2/4 isn't bad. And one thing this Paladin is kind of missing, like a, I guess like a non-reactive, like a proactive 3-drop, because Peacekeeper is kind of like you don't want to play it until there's a target sometimes. This is much better than the Raid Leader, just the body. 3 mana for 2/4 is kind of playable as like a proactive body that like has like an aura effect, so you can like still get value from it if you play Silverhand recruits later, or just like your early Silverhand recruits somehow. So I feel like it's definitely relevant, really relevant in Arena, and it's maybe gonna, like, I think you wouldn't want to play a lot of these. I don't think it's as strong as Quartermaster, just because the health on the recruits is too big. Quartermaster helps them not die. So I think like you can run 1, and it's a fairly strong card as well. Astral Communication, I think this is like a kind of like a really fun card as well. I feel like it's way too inconsistent. If you think about this, like there's already like, I mean, this is better than, I guess like it's more consistent than something like Alarmobot, but it almost feels to me like an Alarmobot kind of thing, where like you have to get early, and then you have to also, like Alarmobot you have to get early, they have to not kill it, and then you have to have a big minion. This one you have to kind of get early, they can't kill it, but then you lose your whole hand, so you have to like then top deck the big minion after. If you draw it anytime after early turns seems not good, obviously, just because you're just like, if you draw it on turn like whatever late game, but what's the point? You already have 10 mana, right? So you're not gaining anything. I heard from the BlizzCon developers, whatever, the Twitter, that a tweet that you can cycle Astral Communication turn 10. So I guess what you can do sometimes is something like play a minion or play some cards and then have 4 mana left over, play Astral Communication. You gain 10 mana. Wait, that doesn't work. And then you can draw another card. I think that would only work if you don't spend any mana, actually, the more I think about it, like Wall Growth. Actually, I'm not sure. I guess you could, yeah, you could do that. It's too random. I don't think it's that strong. It's hard for, like, Druid to just, like, win from dropping 1 minion, unless you get things like Ancient Lore and Azure Drake, but they're still too easy to deal with, right? Like average Drake at this point, they can just like Death Bite or something. I don't think this is that strong, but it's definitely gonna be fun. Definitely gonna be in a lot of highlight videos, things like that. Lance Bearer, 2 mana for a 2/1 or 1/2, which is actually a lot different than 2/1, and then permanently give a friendly minion +2 attack. Kind of reminds me of old Dark Iron Dwarf. I feel like the difference, like I don't feel like this card is going to be that useful in Zoo, a very aggro deck. I feel like Lancebearer is, it makes more sense in like a slower mid range deck using a lot of tokens, because a 1/2, the big difference is it's a lot stickier than a 2/1, but it's not as aggressive. I can see this being like a decent like card for Shaman actually. Like the first thing I think of when I see Lancebearer is kind of like more Shaman, I guess. Maybe even like Shaman and Paladin, things that can have a hero power that make a minion, but not like something, not like super aggro like Zoo. And I feel like it's really relevant, especially in Arena, where Arena for the classes that have hero powers that make a guy. But I don't actually think it'll go too commonly in something like Hunter and Zoo. Maybe in some Hobgoblin deck as well. There is actually a lot of new Hobgoblin cards. Like this is actually a decent way to activate Nerubian Egg or something for Shaman, or kind of like Totems. Don't think it's that strong though. Kind of rate it pretty lowly, I guess. 2 mana for 2/2 Cut Purse. Whenever this minion attacks any hero per coin in your hands. So the thing is, this is a rogue card. Rogue means don't engage in creature combat a lot. Like it's unlikely that like a zombie chow attacks into this or something, or like a minion. Most of the time, like rogues, like use a lot of spell backup. It's like interesting because I'm just not sure. Like say as a rogue you play Cut Purse, you can kind of fit it. Like it's hard to fit stuff into the standard like oil rogues right now, or just decks like that, which is kind of what this is aiming for. I think like those kind of rogues do use mana the best and use like coins the best. So it's not something like a mech rogue that would make sense for this. Not like a tempo based rogue. It's not a strong enough minion on its own. It's more of like kind of like a combo card that would be used in a deck like oil rogue. And like realistically, you wouldn't worry about like maybe minions killing Cut Purse a lot because this doesn't trade too well. But 2 health is kind of squishy, and it doesn't have an immediate effect, and it's hard for a rogue to like actually fit in cards that don't either cycle or like really fast cards. So I guess I don't think it's that strong. Feels a little bit like putting a coin in your hand. Let's see, if you want to think about it in another way, how much damage is a coin worth? Because it's whenever this minion attacks the enemy hero, right? So if you want to think of that as like a 4/2 or a 3/2, 5/2, how much like damage is a coin worth? I'd think like no more than 2, right? It wouldn't be worth 3, I think. So you can think of it kind of like as a 2/2 Wind Fury, because it's not a 4/2 because it doesn't trade well with 4 attack minions. It's not like kind of like a Wind Fury in the sense that it doesn't trade very well with minions. And this effect only happens on your turn and not the enemy turn. Oh, and it also can't attack minions. So 2/2 Wind Fury is, even if it was something like that, that's not very good. It's like worse than the Shaman bot Whirling Zap-O-Matic. So anyways, oh, this is interesting. So this is the last card I'm reading today, Dreadsteed. It's a demon, 4 mana for 1/1 demon. I guess it's like a warlock card. This is kind of interesting. It being a demon kind of means that like there's a lot of buffs you can do on it, and they're adding like more and more demons. It's not onto something like a warrior where you can combo with like Warsong Commander Dreadsteed. That'd be really weird. Kind of like Patron, kill everything. Warlock, I don't think has anything like that. I've seen this card like maybe comboed with the Baron Riven there. Like say you get 2 Dreadsteeds, and then now it's like super annoying. Especially if you can like duplicate this somehow, like cheaply. Like not something like Faceless. You might as well just play a second Dreadsteed from your hand. You're gonna Faceless it, but I don't know. If this gets run in Zoo, that would be weird because it's like super weak, super slow. It just always gives you a target for power whelming and stuff like that. Actually, you know what? This with Void Terror is actually interesting because you can like just like eat the Dreadsteed and like another one would come and your Void Terror would be better. You know what I mean? Like this kind of thing, it's so easy to break the game, right? This like effect it could just be so strong that I think maybe they're like a little bit conservative and it's a little bit weak right now. But there's a lot of implications. I guess like it's a very very brewable card. Like there's so many decks that could be based around this. I wonder if like people can like come up with any super good ideas that would break this. But yeah, my first intuition is that like it's a little bit too weak and it's super weak to silence because like say your Twilight Drake gets silence is still a 4/1, your Void Caller gets silence it's a 3/4. This gets silence is a 1/1, so it's like it's really weak if it gets silence. But not all decks are running silence, and I wonder how much like it being a demon matters. I think it's cool though. A lot of people are saying Hobgoblin again. Anima Golem, maybe. I don't think Anima Golem's that good is the thing. Give it charge. Knife Juggler. I mean, so many things are like Haunted Creeper is good. Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler survives like realistically one turn, right? So you get one extra ping, suicide it. Probably a little bit too weak, but it's cool. It's so cool, actually. It's actually like the coolest card that's come out, I think, in my opinion. Like the flavor on this thing is so cool. It's really easy to break though, right? You can't reduce the mana by that much. 3 maybe, I don't know. It's like it's so fickle, this kind of thing, to break the game. It's just like an unkillable thing. Weak to Grim Patron, yeah. It's weak to Grim Patron. Everything's weak to Grim Patron. Everything's weak to Grim Patron than BGH, right? There's like a sweet spot. Alright, well, that's my card review today. I guess it was like shorter. It went kind of long, but all the cards were really confusing for me to review this time. So, in my opinion, these 3 cards are the best by far. Out of these 10 cards I reviewed, or 12 cards, Living Roots, Flash Shield, and Alexstrasza's Champion is my pick for really strong cards, followed by Warsong Trainer, Warhorse Trainer is like the 4th strongest one. The other ones I'm kind of confused about, or maybe they're just like more, I guess, like casual cards, maybe, or like fun cards. A lot of cool stuff that can happen though.